Calgary-Shaw, followed by Calgary-Buffalo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This PC government ran on an agenda of strengthening families and communities. They've even introduced a bill this week called the Building Families and Communities Act. It all sounds so nice. The reality is we have a social system that fails thousands of women each year who are routinely turned away from emergency shelters. The Premier's response is to paper over the cracks and appoint a new minister. There is a shortage of beds for women fleeing violence, prostitution, sexual exploitation, and human trafficking. To the Associate Minister of Families and Community Safety, what is your ministry doing about it?
Hear, hear. I would like to thank Mr. Speaker, the member, for that question. My first in the House as Associate Minister of Family and Community Safety. And I think the very fact that I'm standing here as Associate Minister of Family and Community Safety shows our Premier's dedication to these important issues. And I ask you to join with me anytime you have suggestions or thoughts on how to improve the lives of our most vulnerable citizens in this province, pass them along to me. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Actions are louder than words, Mr. Speaker, and considering the Win 3 shelter is merely days away from closing its doors permanently, services a unique demographic of women in a culturally sensitive fashion, is the only one of its kind in Alberta, and has a very high success rate. To the same minister, what further criteria would this shelter possibly need to meet in order to receive funding from your ministry?
Hear, hear.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the budget aspect actually is in the Human Services because we all work together in that area. But I want to assure this honourable member and members of the House that when the grant for the Win 3 shelter, the federal grant for the Win 3 shelter was cut in June, they approached us, and we've been working with them ever since. We lined them up with Homeward Trust to make an application for ongoing funding, and they received approval from Homeward Trust for that ongoing funding, and they're working together now on the conditions of that funding. Why they determined that they should make a public announcement of closing their doors in the midst of that process is beyond me.
Well, perhaps this minister can enlighten the House as to why the province only funds a limited number of beds at emergency shelters, despite the fact that many shelters have the additional space and resources to assist women in need. Yet these brave women are turned away by the thousands every single year. Do you just not care?
Hear, hear.
The honourable member knows that under the leadership of this Premier, this government has provided a great deal of care and understanding, compassion and resources for sexual violence issues, for protection of women escaping sexual violence, the announcement of the Family Violence Death Review Committee process, all of those things in place so that we can reduce family violence, prevent family violence, and assist those people who are victims of family violence. The honourable member will also know, because his party wants to cut $5 billion from the budget, that the allocation of scarce resources is always the most difficult job in government, and we try to do that to make sure we make the most effective use of the public resources.